Hello, BookTube. It's a bit of a gimmick, a gag, a wheeze, an old staple, a cliche of YouTube and also BookTube for someone to start off a video by saying, I didn't want to make this video. And I am in the position of needing to do that, even though I left my ukulele at home. I've been having a terrible recording day. The neighborhood has been cartoonishly loud, blastingly loud. And also, the recording has not worked. Just at random, it just decided not to work. Even though I did everything the same, the recording just didn't happen. And one of the times where that happened was a mail haul. Of course, it would be that, of course, because as I've said many times before on this channel, you can't redo a mail haul. If you're opening packages on camera, you can't redo that. And that was the one that didn't record. And when I saw that, the screen just show up with a line through it. Sorry, you wasted your time. That didn't happen. I said, well, to hell with that. Then I miss more mail than I record on this channel lately. So I thought, no way, let's just leave it. Just roll with the fates. The fates don't want you to do this, but the fates don't exist. So I thought I would show you the mail. I'm not opening packages. I'll just show it to you in hopes that I can make this video record and just get that bad taste out of my mouth entirely. We'll see if this works. It's a beautiful day. Otherwise, just because of the loud noise, the difficult day of recording. I mean, 10 years ago, I didn't know what it meant to have a bad recording day. I had no idea. I had no idea how I'd ever know. It's a beautiful day. It's a nice, temperate, wonderful, sunny Monday. My little bean and I have been enjoying the heck out of it. We've just been enjoying the heck out of our day. We went on a wonderful, long, warm walk that was just lovely. Just lovely. And it featured a wonderful moment. We met a lot of people. Of course, Frida was hoarse by the end of it because she was screaming at so many people to stop what they were doing. Whether it's unloading groceries, the poor people, or moving in furniture, the poor people, or gardening, God help them, and stop what you're doing and fuss over her. She's going to scream at you until you do, so just come and fuss over her. Tell her how pretty she is. Pat her all over. Let her weave against you like a dog version of a cat. And when she's done, she'll let you know. But at one point, we came across a woman at the end of her driveway with two ancient dogs. White faces, totally opaque eyes, obviously almost completely blind. Ancient dogs standing next to each other at the end of her driveway. And Frida knows perfectly well that she is to behave herself with dogs like that. I don't want her giving sass to somebody who's 16 years old. And she did. She behaved just perfectly, very gently, very, very circumspectly. Don't want to surprise them. Don't want to startle them. Their noses still work just fine. And obviously their skin does because they love the feeling of the sun on their faces. I smooched their faces. I pressed my head against them, and it was wonderful. It was an honor. And I looked at the owner, and I said, surely you are not taking these two for a walk. And she said, no, I'm not taking them for a walk. This is their walk. I go to all the bother. I go through the process of getting them out the back door, and then we walk down the driveway to the sidewalk, and we stand here for a while, and then we walk back up the driveway to the back door, and that knocks them out for the rest of the day. And I was laughing, and so was she. And I looked at her and I said, and the days when they were raising holy hell and running all over the place, those were 2 minutes ago, weren't they? And she just looked at me. We looked at each other. And if it hadn't been weird to do, we would have embraced each other. We knew in that moment that we'd both been through that before. I don't know how many times she's been through it. I've been through it a lot of times, including once on this channel. We knew in an instant. In that instant, we understood each other perfectly. And it was a joy. It was an honor to do. But the rest of the walk was also lots and lots of fun. Totally unstructured. There was no reason to come back here. I did all my work before 8 because I'm the king of the dude bros. So I rise and grind. But there was mail. And I opened it on camera and the video did not record. No idea why. I didn't bump anything. Went through the process that I've gone through a million times before. Just didn't happen. So I thought I would show you the mail. We don't have to open it to look at it. And that way I can get this off my mind. So the first thing was a tribute. It was tribute from one of you. It was not a breaking of rule number 1. We discussed it ahead of time. But it is something that I'm going to have to make a separate video about. And that is summer tribute for Steve. This is going to be the summer of Steve. All summers are the summer of Steve. We are full swing now in library book sale territory. A lot of you are going to library book sales, and you're not free anymore. You are now mine, which means there are all sorts of rules about acquiring tribute for Steve at your library book sale. And I have not made a video about those rules, and I really need to. There's quite a few of them. Your library book sales, you must still go to them, but you will not be enjoying them anymore. But I'll make a separate video for that. But someone sent me a book. Someone sent me this Roy Atkins book on Nelson's Trafalgar in this floppy penguin trade paperback, which is great. I read this book 20 years ago when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. Atkins is a really good writer. The only thing wrong, the only drawbacks were the heresies that I think. I don't think that Trafalgar is all that important to battle. I think there would have been 10 Trafalgars after it if it hadn't happened. And more scandalously than that, I think that Nelson is overrated. I know that Jack Aubrey would come across the table and swipe at me if he heard me say that, but I think Nelson is overrated. I think we overrate him because of his death. There is no possible reason why this commander should have 500,000 biographies. No possible reason for that, I don't think. But nevertheless, I enjoyed this book. I'll enjoy it again, I'm sure. So then I had two little books from Europa Editions. The actual mail that I got today is about 90 minutes worth of reading for me. I got a tiny book from Europa Editions called The Book of I by David Grieg, which is about a trio of people who end up on a Scottish island after a Viking raid. There's a woman who's a beekeeper and whose loutish husband died in the raid. There's Brother Martin, who is the only survivor from his monastery. And there's an old Viking, a Grimmerer, who literally crawls out of his grave because his comrades mistakenly buried him thinking he was dead. And those three are isolated, and they just have to live together. And it sounds wonderful. It sounds just wonderful. I don't have any makeup of what it looks like. But this book came with a card from the publicist, enthusing about the book. And I've learned to take that seriously. You might think, well, isn't it a book publicist's job to enthuse about a book? And it is, and they do. But you can definitely tell when it's personal. And I take that seriously. So I'm looking forward to it, but it's a tiny little thing. Look at the size of this. It's 100 pages. And so is the next one, also from Europa Editions. This is by Domenico Starnoni, and this is translated from the Italian by Una Stransky, and it's called The Old Man by the Sea. And it's about an old man who tells stories. He's in his 80s, like the author. When he falls in with a young girl that he sees using a skiff on the water, and I guess has an adventure. Stops recording the world long enough to live in it and have an adventure. The publicity material for this book calls Domenico Starnoni Italy's most famous writer. And when I did this video the first time, I don't know if this will upload, I mentioned that I was curious to know, those of you in Italy, if that is true. How is he treated in Italy? Is he a grand poobah? And then there was this thing. This is a hardcover by Gabriele Zuchtriegel, also translated from the Italian. And this is The Buried City. It's the latest update, a thin thing, the latest update from the city of Pompeii and what is being excavated there. I guess we could read that on the hope that this is recording. This is done by the director of the Pompei Archaeological Park. So he's the guy in charge of the excavation there. And in this book, he takes us on a behind-the-scenes tour of Pompeii and reveals new archaeological finds that are being unearthed at the site's biggest dig in a generation. The book presents an intimate perspective on the city that was tragically destroyed and frozen in time by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. That is AD 79. AD standing for Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. Not CE, which stands for fascist control over what you write. It actually stands for Common Era. What makes it common? I wonder, what makes it common? Christianity makes it common. But if you use AD 79, the correct usage, well, then the bigots who run academia and who have destroyed this country by being so insufferable that they helped a fascist to get into power who's never going to leave power, If you use AD 79, they're going to say that you're taking this book and slapping a Muslim across the face with it. Anyway, among the ruins, we find unmade beds, dishes left drying, and bodies of victims encased in ash. But the author shows that we've only begun to understand this fascinating place, as a third of the site remains unexcavated. This has a blurb from Stephen Fry saying it's the best book on Pompeii that he's ever read. No idea how many books on Pompeii he's read. But this comes out in late May. So this goes on the May shelf that I am now fully assembling. And it's got some pictures in the middle, and it'll be fascinating. I will try to remember to leave a link to a YouTube video. There's a short YouTube video that's amazing on the subject of Pompeii. I'm sure you've seen many videos reconstructing or reenacting the destruction of Pompeii, but there's one video in particular, I've recommended it on this channel before, and I will try to find it and leave a link to it, that basically positions a camera on top of a sturdy stone building or amphitheater or something like that, pointed over the rooftops of Pompeii directly at Vesuvius, and showing you in little glimpses over time frames, over days, what that eruption was like. There are no people in it. There are no actors playing Romans in it. You can hear dogs barking, and you occasionally see some birds, but it's just what happens from that fixed viewpoint. And it's amazing. Show your kids. Watch it with your kids. It's amazing. You'll be talking about it for days. I'll try to remember to find it and leave a link. Your heart goes out to Pompeii when you read about it in a book like this, especially when you see these pictures of, lovingly restored doors and frescoes and whatnot. Your heart just goes out to these people because there were earthquakes, there were rumblings from Vesuvius all the time. So you picture that in a city of how many thousands of people, maybe one or two people actually saved themselves by quick action, correct action. So maybe one or two people went out into their garden that morning to pick something and saw Vesuvius erupting. It didn't erupt into in a cascade of fire like in Hollywood, but maybe they saw that plume of dust and ash erupting straight up into the sky in a way that isn't normal. Maybe they saw that and thought correctly, I am not safe, even this distance from the mountain. I'm not safe at all. So I'm going to rush inside. I'm going to get my family and my household slaves to load the donkey cart with all the stuff that we need. And I'm going to gauge where the wind is blowing, and we're going to move away in that direction. Right away, as fast as we can, all morning long, all day long, all afternoon long. Well, that person might have survived. They might have reached outside the zone of the volcano's destruction. But most Pompeians did not make that decision. Most of them made one of two wrong decisions. They either went to the water, to the harbor, or more especially, I imagine most of them said, this can't harm me. There'll be dust in the air. It'll be a dark day, but we'll take our books and we'll take some food and we'll go down to the basement. We'll down to the lowest room and we'll just wait it out. Waiting it out was the wrong thing to do. And by the time most people realized that it was the wrong thing to do, the air was not only dark as midnight, but full of burning hot pumice. So where could you go? What could you do? You couldn't do anything. The air was too thick to breathe, making a cement inside your lungs. This will be that story all over again. I have read 50 books on Pompeii, maybe, counting art catalogs, maybe 50 books on the subject. We'll see. This. I'm sure I have details that I don't know. But anyway, that was the mail. The point that I wanted to make about the day's actual new mail, not Nelson's Trafalgar, is that this is 90 minutes of reading for me, maybe 2 hours. If this thing slows me down, maybe 2 hours. So it was a pretty thin reading day, pretty thin mail day. Still, I didn't want to just skip it. I don't want to admit defeat. I don't want that stuff to stick in my mind and maybe make me reluctant. I like to bombard you with videos during the day. So we'll see if this thing works. If I hit stop on this video and this is also a blank with a line through it, I'm not going to do it a third time. I'll just mention in some future video that we had mail that you didn't see. There's plenty of that, actually. So sorry about that, but there is plenty of it. So anyway, we'll try. Anyway, so I'll wrap this up for now, and hopefully you'll see it. Thank you, BookTube.